I don't really know how to start this video. I mean, you guys wanted me to just tell you how I draw abs, and I have tried to write a script on all the tips and tricks that I use to draw abs, and I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be very good at explaining this, so I think what I'm just going to do is have a slightly, ever so slightly sped up time lapse of the drawing with the study, and I'll just talk over it and kind of walk you guys through how I do it. Yeah, that I think that's going to be the best thing because I don't know how good to tear up this script. It's just yeah, drawing abs with Tambry art. So anyways, I am just, again, like I said, I'm just going to walk through. This is not really scripted at all either. But basically I make sure, so tip number one, I make sure that I have a pretty good photo reference, realistic photo most of the time. And I make sure that it has pretty good lighting and that it's of a higher quality. I try to make sure it's not super photoshopped or anything crazy. And yeah, so good reference, usually on Pinterest. This particular pose I found on Pinterest from the Pose Archives, which is a free to use source, I believe. Just gotta credit them. So thanks, Post Archives. But yeah, anyway, so step number one, find a good photo reference. Don't get a poop reference, or don't say, I'm gonna draw from my imagination, because your imagination, I mean, some people do have photographic memories, but I'm not one of those people. And I don't think you are too if you clicked on this video. So photo reference, boom. The next tip I would think about, I guess, consider, would be to, if you've done any figure drawing, there's a curve that your spine follows in pretty much any pose you get. It's the S curve. You might have heard art teachers or other art professionals talking about like a contrapposto pose, where like the hips go one angle and the shoulders go the opposite way. Where was I going with that? Basically, I want you to follow a curve. Draw a curve first, figure out where that spine is, so that way your drawing doesn't look stiff. So step number two, draw a swooshy curve, make sure it's not stiff. And yeah, I don't know, I'm looking at this, I'm watching it while we're going. Why am I drawing sunglasses? I'm drawing sunglasses because the reference had sunglasses, and I felt weird changing like half the pose for the tutorial. So I gave Quill glasses. Kind of fun and different than normal. But while we're looking at the top half of his chest there, you'll notice these triangles that I have that are pointing down along the tops of the pecs. They kind of start from the collarbone and then they point down into like the armpit area. I use those to kind of track that area of the chest where your shoulder starts to kind of flex into your torso. And I don't know, for me it's been super helpful to kind of track where the pecs are, because without those triangles I just draw massive pecs and then there's no end to them and suddenly the shoulder's there. So having that triangle there kind of breaks that shape up and makes it a little bit easier for me to understand when I go into the painting phase. And yeah, we're just putting some flat colors in right now. Some other tips. I tend to, oh, what is the word? I tend to kind of just do a very rough sketch and then rely on the painting process to carry me the rest of the way. But I try to make sure that I get all the major information that I need. So for the abs, what that is the location of the spine. So that big S curve that I was talking about earlier. I try to mark which side of the body is compressing and which side of the body is more relaxed. So that way you can mark the muscles accordingly. So in this case, the left side is more crunched and the right side is more relaxed. And so what that's going to what that is going to look like when it starts to get painted is the left side is going to have more defined muscles and the right side is going to have softer shading, so you won't see the muscles as much because they're more relaxed and so they're under the skin a little bit more. So yeah, let's see, other things to note here. I am starting to put in some shading and kind of starting to mark out where I see the light hitting the muscles on the reference photo. And the light is mostly coming in strongly from the right side there. So everything's going to kind of reflect that a little bit. And then as I say that, I put like these giant highlights on that side. But that's kind of the bounce light from the other side is coming in under his arm there and popping that side, the left side out. So, but what I'll do is I'll kind of block out the colors first, and then I'll come in with a softer brush and kind of blend everything over. And just marking up some more stuff there. For the muscles, I tend to try and use kind of like organic looking triangles, so like rounded triangles make up most of the shapes in the abdominal area and the top of the torso and the arms too. But I found that that's like an easier shape for me to work with. I know other people use like squares or circles, or you have like some weirdos that don't use any like basic shapes and they just make their own shapes and it works for them. But for me, it's triangles, really soft triangles that make up those shapes there. So yeah, some more soft shading here. I've changed the line art to be brown instead of black because it just gives a softer look to everything. So I like to paint pretty soft, I guess. Observation here. So, and I don't like to stay in one spot on the drawing. As you can kind of see, what's happening already is I'll work on the abs a little bit and then I'll bounce up and do some of the face detail, and then I'll work on the abs some more, and then maybe I'll go and work on the arms, and then maybe I'll work on the pants, and then I'll come back to the abs. And I tend to bounce around a little bit to kind of help me refresh and not get so focused on just like one little spot in the drawing. So if that were, if you were like actually painting physically on a canvas, that would be kind of the equivalent to like taking a quick step back from the painting to kind of see the whole thing and then jumping back in. So it's good to take breaks and step away from your work from time to time. So let's see, what am I doing now? Oh, okay, so now I'm adding some more detail to the face. So another thing I like to do with these studies is I like to make them more than just studies to me, because when I do a study for the sake of just studying something, it is really demotivating. But as soon as I turn it into one of my own characters, then I can see the way the study can be applied to my comic, and then it helps me see that study through instead of just leaving it and being like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to do this. So I have a hard time doing that. I know there's a bunch of artists that can sit there and do the reps and, do all the drawings and have the discipline to do that, but I am not one of those people. So I don't have a whole lot of time to dedicate to drawing as much as I used to. And so I've been trying to figure out ways to dual purpose a lot of my study time, essentially. So, in fact, you can say my whole comic is kind of just a study dedicated to drawing torso and abs and like the human muscle structure. So, it's kind of fun to think about, honestly. The takeaway there is, how do you get good at drawing abs? Oh, you just make a main character that doesn't have a shirt and you have to draw him 5 million times and you'll get good. You will get good at drawing abs. Or you will figure out a way to shorthand it so it's not as painful to draw all the time. So yeah, now at this point I am starting to put in some more detail over the top. I'm using just the regular G pen in Clip Studio, and I'm just adding, just more details. So in this case, I happened to notice that his ribs were kind of poking out on that one side there, and so I decided to start trying to draw that area a bit more. And what I'll do is, after I draw it, I'll kind of start to blend over it and soften it up. So you won't really see a whole lot of it once it's done, but it helps me kind of start marking stuff in my head to continue lines down throughout his body. Yeah, just a lot of color picking and blending. So I don't use a blending brush. I literally just I just use a soft brush, and then I will color pick the color, brush a little bit, color pick that color, brush a little bit, color pick that color, and then it just manually blends, but you have a lot more control over it that way. Or at least I do, and I enjoy that part of the painting process, so I keep it in. I don't really know what else to say right now. So how was your day? Was it made better by watching this video? I hope, maybe. If it was, feel free to leave a like and maybe leave a comment on what your best practices for drawing abs are. If you want to share, that's totally up to you. You don't have to if you don't want to. I'm not twisting your arm. Oh yeah, so at this point I am starting to clean up the sketch, essentially my line art. I don't actually really have a dedicated line art layer. It's literally just like the underpainting layer. That's kind of my line art layer, sketch layer. I dual purpose stuff, if you can't tell. So it's weird to think about. A bunch of years back when I first started doing digital painting, I literally would make a layer for every single thing. Make a brushstroke, now it's a new layer. Make another brushstroke, now it's a new layer. Like I used to be proud of the fact that I had like over 100 layers in a file, and now I only really have like 4 layers. Usually when I'm painting, it's the flat color layer, the initial shading layer that's clipped to the flat color layer, the line art slash sketchy art, and then the overpainting, and that's it. And if I have a background, then there's a couple more layers in there. But I try to paint on as little amount of layers as possible now. I think most of that is because of doing a comic, and it becomes a lot harder to track stuff if you have a ton of layers. So less layers seems to be a lot easier. Definitely not as sacred, and if you mess up, you just kind of have to just keep going. But yeah. Let's see. So I'm taking the brown sketch layer color and kind of starting to put that in for my lines. I've noticed recently that I really do enjoy the like thicker like exterior line, and then like softer colors and lines in the inside of the silhouette. And yeah, I guess that's kind of Muka inspired a little bit there. So I really do like that art style a lot. Alphonse Muka. But yeah, and I'm just going through and starting to clean up some more. So I make sure to draw the nip nops, you know. Actually, it looks like I drew those a while ago while I was rambling. So not afraid to draw those, but I definitely don't like to put overemphasis on it. So I'll just usually try to take the shadow color, whatever it is, and that's the nipple color for the character. And then as far as like the thicker line art on the inside of the drawing, I really only try to use that for like his belly button, and then maybe like in the armpit area, or like that deeper part of your collarbone. Is it the clavicle, I think? Man. This type of stuff really makes me, or it really reminds me that I have to brush up on all my like anatomy terminology, because man, I'm rusty. Jeez. So yeah, and I think at this point it's just a lot of little small details. So I noticed part of my drawing was off, I think, at this point. So I'm just going back through and trying to figure out where I can fix things. Doing some more blending. Kind of trying to soften those triangles a little bit. So, but it is pretty cool. Like doing a manual soft blending can get you a multitude of colors, even though I literally only started with 2. That like lighter peach color, and then like the salmon pink color for the shadows on Quill. So yeah, 2 colors, and they blend really nicely together. And I played around a lot with the Quill's color palette back in the day, so yeah. And now we're just working on the sash. At least I think. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, it really does, it comes together pretty quickly once I start getting rolling on it. So, and at that point, that's when I start to start second guessing myself. So this is where I will literally try to give myself a break by not working on the abs, and I'll work on something else in the painting. So in this case, I've switched to working on his pants and the sash. So, which is good. I definitely think that is another good tip, is to just not focus solely on one specific part of your drawing. Just definitely make sure that you're taking a step back. I think I already said this, but I can't say it enough. You really got to take a step back from your drawings and, breathe and look at the drawing as a whole first, and then you can go back and start adding details and stuff. Because most of the time, and I used to do this a lot when I was starting out, is like I zeroed in to like literally, when you zoom in and you start to see the actual pixel grid of everything, you can't be zooming in that far. Like your painting's not a Where's Waldo thing. Like you don't you don't need to add all these crazy little tiny details, because when you zoom out, you're not going to be able to see it. And sometimes what happens is you put so much detail into one small part of your drawing, and then when you zoom out, it literally will fuzz that whole area because there's like too much like pixel information going on in that spot. So yeah, try and stay zoomed out. It's okay if you zoom in and your drawing looks crazy and you don't like it, because most people aren't going to be trying to zoom in on every single pixel in your drawing. They're probably going to see it for 2 seconds and then they'll keep scrolling, or they'll go look at something else. So I don't know. It doesn't have to be perfect. It really doesn't have to be perfect. So in fact, I'm looking at this drawing. I drew it about a month ago at this point now, I think at the point of recording this, and I see so many imperfections on it. Like I really should start to get in the habit of flipping the canvas and stuff, because like there's definitely some funky stuff going on here. But that's okay. I will learn that. I'm taking mental notes of that, and I will apply it to the next drawing. I don't have to come back to this one and keep hashing and rehashing it until it's perfect, because it will never be perfect. So, and that's okay. It honestly is very much okay. Sorry, that was quite a big rant there. Anyway, so at this point I'm coming back, and I noticed that his abs were starting to look really flat because I had the shadow too close to the edge where the line art was, and so I pulled the shadow in more towards the center of his body, like towards his spine. So, and it's kind of crazy how like just pulling the shadows in just a little bit more gives that illusion of like his body actually has some thickness to it, and he's not just like a paper doll. So it's pretty crazy. Oh, look, a mini hand tutorial. Oh man, hands. I think it was back in 2017 I decided that I really wanted to get good at drawing hands. And so this was back when I was still live streaming pretty regularly. And I would I would literally have like a hand study session like for an hour at a time, like every morning for like, I think it was like for the whole month of November or something. I can't remember if I actually finished that or if I fell off halfway. I'd have to go back and look at all the hand studies I did. So, but it was very effective. I hated myself for it because I didn't like having to get up early and draw hands for an hour every day. But it really helped me improve. It really helped me improve. And yeah, it was a good time. I think the only reason I was able to show up for that was because it was a live stream and my community at the time was like really close knit, and we're all kind of trying to get better at drawing like collectively as a group. And so it made it a lot easier for me to show up and do that. But yeah, That accountability partner is really strong. I kind of wish I could do that now, but I don't have the luxury of free time. If I start getting up super early in the morning and my kids start hearing me wake up early, they'll just get up earlier. So I will just gladly take that time to sleep in and stuff. So, gosh, I can't believe my baby girl is 8 months old already. Like, that's wild. It's already been 8 months that she's been here. So, but I do think I'm going to be able to, what's the word? I do think I'm going to be able to get more consistent on my comic in a little bit here and start being able to post a little more regularly than just the once a month thing that I've been doing. Hopefully, we'll see. So, if it works out, it works out. Oh, looks like I noticed a couple more little things going on here. So I'm just, I'm adding detail to the arms. That's what I'm doing here. It's coming back to me. It took a little bit, but it's coming back to me. Let's see, I noticed the elbow and the shadow on the wrist was a lot stronger there. Oh, there we go. And the shadows on the fingers. Nice. Yep, I'm kind of just going all over the place there. Up and back to the hair. That really is like one of my favorite parts of drawing my comic, is drawing the hair. So I could literally just spend like a whole drawing session on drawing hair in the panels. So, which is, I don't know. I like it, but I definitely, I need to figure out how I can shorthand that a little bit better. So, but I won't shorthand the abs. Definitely not. Let's see. I'm trying to think, what other tips can I talk about for abs? I went really far off track here. So I guess this is more of like a draw with me type video. I think I'll title it as a draw with me type video. So, because we're literally just talking about stuff. Alright, so I talked about how grabbing a reference with decent lighting was important, making sure it wasn't super photoshopped. Decent lighting, yep. Starting out with a rough skeleton or stick figure, making sure to get that S curve for it to look more fluid and less stiff of a pose. Talked about the triangles. Yeah, I don't really have much else to talk about in way of just painting abs. I mean, I could talk about structure, but I don't really paint the structure in, or I don't really draw the structure as much as I used to. So I've gotten to a point now where I can kind of give myself a little bit of a shorthand in the sketching phase that gives me just enough information to remind me that like certain shapes need to go in certain places. So, which is pretty cool. I like that I've gotten to that point, but it does make it harder to pass the knowledge along. I think. So, yeah, I guess major takeaway is just that what's the word? That drawing abs, you don't have to, I can't think of it. Your abs don't have to look like superhero cartoon abs. And they don't have to be like a can of biscuits or something. I feel like you guys would know what I'm talking about, like where they draw the abs like super puffed out. Every single row of the six-pack is just very puffed out and everything. They're like bulging muscles kind of drawing. You don't have to go that route if you don't want to. You can draw soft muscles that, they have like a good layer of skin and fat over them and stuff. Like you don't have to draw the ultimate like cut muscle look, I guess. So I guess, yeah, that's like the main takeaway from my ab studies here is I wanted to figure out how to draw like soft sexy boy abs. I don't know, like like how many times can I say abs? Like abs that are there, that you see them, but you can still hug the person that has them. They don't feel like a rock, I feel like that fits really well with like a romancy type story that I'm going after here. So, but yeah, that's it. I think that's the end of the tutorial here. I guess. I don't know. I don't know how many of you guys are still here and made it to the end after all this rambling that I did, uncut. Just, I don't know how many motorcycles probably passed by while I was doing this. So, I guess you guys can count or something. I don't know. Let me know if you like this style of video where I just kind of talk over a drawing and ramble, I guess. Ramble / give some advice, but it's kind of in there. You gotta go digging a little bit. But yeah. Well, what do I say? I don't know. Gonna sing this little outro. La-dee-da. Read my comic, maybe, if that's your thing. If not, okay. You came here for the abs and the rant and the ramble, and that's alright. Okay. Bye!